Mary is a very successful young lady. She's one of the most famous businesswomen in the city. She started her company a long time ago, and now it's the biggest company of it in the whole area. Mary wasn't always a rich woman. She started everything from the beginning. Mary grew up at a fancy house. Her father used to own a very big store in the city and business was going very good for him. He was able to provide his family with all their needs and he could secure a very good education for his daughter. Mary's mother didn't have to work a day in her life. She got married from her father when she was just a teenager. She was 19 years old and she just graduated from high school when her parents arranged the marriage. Mary's mother didn't have any plan in her life, and that's why she agreed on getting married at that young age. She got transferred from her family's house to her husband's house, and a few months after she first saw him in her house, Mary's life was very quiet, happy, and without any problems other than the regular problems that happened in every house. One day, when Mary was still a student in high school, she got back home to find out that her parents were having a very big fight. Mary never saw her parents fighting before, and she didn't understand why they were fighting or what she should do in that case. Mary ran to her room and cried. After a while, her mother showed up and asked her not to worry about what she just saw. The mother told her daughter that it was just a misunderstanding. At that point, Mary didn't have any reason for expecting the worst or not believing her mother, and the next day she went to the school and everything was normal. But when she got home this day, she discovered that her father had left the house forever. Mary's father left a note for his wife to inform her that he couldn't continue and he needed to leave. In the same note, he explained to them that someone bought the store and the house. Mary and her mother realized that they had less than a week before the new owners show up and take the house. Mary's life was destroyed in a few minutes. She never knew that her father would leave like this. The mother was crying and didn't know what she could do. Mary and her mother suddenly found themselves in the street. Mary's mother didn't have any other plan. She didn't have a house, money, job, or even the ability to work all of her life. Someone took care of her, first her family, then her husband. Mary's mother took her daughter and went to live with her parents. Living with her grandparents wasn't like living at home because Mary's grandparents weren't as rich as her father and they couldn't provide her with the same lifestyle that she used to have. When she was living with her father, Mary got transferred from her private school to a public school. Her grandparents didn't have a car and they didn't give her money to ride the bus, so she had to walk to school every day for a whole year. Mary didn't buy any clothes, and she had to use the clothes that she already got. When Mary graduated from high school, her mother told her that her father was in a relationship with another woman, and that was why they were fighting when she saw them that day. She also told her that she found everything in his phone, and when she went to talk to him, he promised that he would end that relationship. But it was too late already and he had his own plan. Mary thought that the problem was that her mother wasn't ready to be left alone. All her life she was depending on other people, and she never depended on herself. Mary was thinking that her mother thought that life was so easy and she could live without making any effort. And here's the problem. Mary learned the lesson, and she decided to depend on herself. She went to college, where she studied it and used her free time to work and save money. Mary's plan was very clear. She didn't want to meet anyone in her life. When Mary graduated from college, she already had a very good amount of money that could help her start her own business, but she wanted to wait. Mary worked for nearly a year in one of the biggest companies in the city until she felt she was ready for her own business. Mary started her own business when she was just 23 years old, and she kept working on it until it became one of the biggest companies in the whole city, as we mentioned, which made Mary very rich. Mary didn't have time for love or getting in a relationship because she was always working, but after a while, she finally met someone. Mary met Sam, her husband, in a small party hosted by one of her partners. Sam was a businessman as well. He was handsome, young, and rich, but not as rich as Mary. They start their conversation by talking about work and business, and they end up sharing their personal details. Before the end of the party, they were already set up for another meeting for dinner. That dinner led to a series of dates, parties, travels, and in the end, they got married. Mary didn't know if she truly loved Sam, but she was sure that he was the one. 2 years later, they had their only son, Alex. Alex was the best thing that ever happened to Mary. She wanted to get everything that he ever wanted. She hired a private nanny and private maid, only for the little one. But Sam wasn't that happy. After having his son, he realized that his wife was so busy between her son and her business. One day, Mary discovered that Sam was in a relationship with another woman, and when she went to talk to him, he told her that it was a mistake and he never do it. But she was always busy. Mary told Sam that she didn't believe or need him in her life. She asked him to leave her house as soon as possible. Since that day, Mary's been living with her son and the maid at the big house. Mary decided to move on. What happened with her husband, and she started to work hard again. She was giving all her time to her company, and she left her son totally to the nanny. Years passed, and Alex was growing up from his parents. However, he had everything that a young man could imagine. Alex went to a private school. He had his own car with a private driver. As a kid, he was getting money every day that another adult needed to work a week for. Despite all that, Alex couldn't see his parents or talk to them. All that time, Mary was seeing her son only one day a week for a short time. One day when Mary was working in her office as usual, she noticed that the house employees were calling her a lot. She realized there was a problem at home, but she was so busy and said to herself that it can wait. Mary didn't know that they wanted to inform her that her son was transferred to the hospital and that it was her last chance to see him alive. When Mary got home, her housekeeper told her that her son was so tired and they had to call an ambulance for him. Mary called the nanny, who was with Alex in the hospital, and once she got the hospital's name, she ran to it. When Mary arrived at the hospital, she discovered that it was too late and her son had died already. It was the greatest shock that Mary should ever experience, not only because she lost her son, but because she wasn't there and she didn't know how he died. She always saw Alex, a strong, healthy, and a handsome young man, and she didn't know that he had any health problems. Mary was crying without understanding what happened, but the doctor told her that her son had been coming to the hospital with his nanny and had always been sending her email updates with her condition. Mary pulled out her phone and checked the emails that she received from the hospital. She found out that the hospital had been sending all her details, but she didn't have time to look at those emails before. Alex was suffering from cancer for the past 2 years, and her mother didn't know anything about it. When Mary discovered that, she got even sadder. Mary asked the nanny why they never told her about Alex's condition. The nanny told her that Alex didn't want her to, and he wanted to know if she'd ever noticed a clear thing like that. At the funeral, Mary asked to open her son's coffin to see him for the last time, especially since she didn't have the chance to say goodbye to him. But the open coffin to her, she couldn't stop screaming. Everyone at the funeral thought that it was normal for this woman to scream at her dead son. But the fact was that Mary was screaming because she realized at that point that it was very clear that her son had cancer. How she didn't notice and how she thought that having a lot of money or being successful would make all their problems go away. After what happened to her son, Mary left work and decided to dedicate all her time to homeless children.